Yo, 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 we are back. Another episode of Leaf with the Legends podcast. I'm with a very, very good friend of mine, um, with founder and lead player development coach at Realwork Basketball, and hands down, one of the best player development coaches around, with my boy, Middleton legend, Milwaukee area legend, my boy, Luke Meier, man. Thanks for pulling up to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, you already know. You already know. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. So Luke, man, let's take it back to Middleton. Like, let's talk about sports you played, kind of influences back in the day.
Yeah, so I grew up. I played everything. Like I did soccer. I was on the swim team for a little bit. Baseball, basketball, football. Uh, as I got older, I kind of narrowed it down to once I got into high school. I played baseball my freshman year, but I knew like that wasn't for me. Like guys started throwing gas and curveballs, and like I'm like, nah, this isn't it. So focused on football and basketball. Basketball was always my main love. Like I played football, I liked it. I was good at it. But all my boys played football, so I played football through my senior year. Uh, but like I said, basketball was kind of my main thing. In reference to where I'm at today, I think I always had some really good coaches. I kind of always looked up to, like, when I was a kid, like if I had a coach and he told me something, like that was it to me. Like I was going to listen to what they were saying. And during that time, I started to, like from an early age, I knew I wanted to be a coach. Like I think part of it was like the people that had impacted me the most were coaches. So I kind of wanted to follow suit with that. So from even in middle school, like I would like diagram plays. I had in high school, like I had John Wooden books, I had Coach K books. Like my mind was always on kind of that track. So I finished there. I wasn't a great player, like I was a decent player. Um, could really shoot it. But besides that, my game was somewhat limited. Um, but yeah, from there got into college and kind of had that same mindset of like I'm playing right now, but I'm really kind of trying to prepare myself to coach. And that was the plan through college was, I wanted to be, at first I wanted to be a high school coach, maybe be a counselor or a teacher. Then I thought, I'm going to try to give college coaching a run. And things changed from there.
Facts, facts. So let's talk a little bit about college. So what I found out recently that you were actually you graduated from UW Eau Claire.
Right.
Shout out to the WIAC. I'm a Stevens Point alum. We had some battles. But
I don't
so
know if we call them battles. We played. We played, but I don't know if they were battles.
yeah, we ain't got to get into all that. But yeah. But you were actually recruited to Eau Claire to play football.
Yeah, so I was more recruited to play football out of high school. I mean, it was all Division III stuff for football and basketball.
Hmm.
But I already knew, like I wasn't gonna. I went on some visits for football, um, and that's how I went on a visit to Eau Claire for football. Uh, and I just like I really love the campus. I I kind of was like, this is where I want to go to school. And I was naive, right? Like I was, I had the assumption that like it was Division III, like I'm just good enough. If I want to play here, like I can play here. Like so I just went there, liked the campus. I talked to the coach, I talked to the basketball coach. And he was basically like, you can try out. And like I said, I was pretty naive to the quality of basketball. That was going on the WEAC. So yeah, I was recruited to play football there, went on the visit, and then I ended up like walking on to the basketball team and making the team as a walk on.
I mean, it just shows like the type of athlete that you were though, and the determination that you had.
Yeah, I mean, part of it in high school, I was an extremely hard worker. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think my junior and senior year, I would get up at 5, meet my high school coach at the gym at 5:30 during the summer. So we do basketball workout, which I don't think was legal, but he was there.
It's a lot of contact days going on.
Yeah, we had 3 contact days a week. Individuals. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't the best kid on my teams, like in middle school and high school. And I kind of had this I call it an irrational fear where, I wasn't the best kid. So I knew my dad had really instilled in me, like, hey, if you want to play more, you want to get better, like you got to work and you got to practice. So that's what I did. And, I kind of just kept improving as we started to grow through middle school and high school. And like I said, I was going to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. We do an hour of basketball. We do an hour of lifting. And then I do like a half hour, 45 minutes of conditioning. So, by 9 o'clock, I had worked out essentially 3 times. And, I'd go home, take a nap, and then, it's obviously during the summer, but, so like I was really dedicated. I was really committed. And even by the time like I was a senior, I had, I still had that kind of feeling of like, I need to get better. Like if I don't do my best, like this guy's going to take my spot. And like looking back on it, that wasn't going to happen.
Right,
But
right.
that was kind of my motivation at that time, was like, I was just paranoid that, if I didn't do everything that I could do, that somebody else was going to take my spot. And I think that ultimately was why I made the team. I was big enough at Eau Claire, I should say. I was big enough, I was a good enough athlete. But I just really, like everything we did, in those, as those fall preseason conditioning is no joke.
Brutal.
And, I went hard, man, like everything. Like there was nothing that wasn't all out. I think the coaches kind of saw that and wanted me to be a part of the program because of that.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope, man. And shout out, one of your teammates, Dan Byer, DB.
Guy, he just had a baby boy.
Yep, yep,
You
yep.
know the name?
No.
Dirk Anthony Byer.
That's fitty.
It
That's
had to
fitty.
be, right?
That's
It
fitty.
had to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. That's fitty. I love it. I love it. But yeah, no, I had to shout out, DB. We grew up, we started playing AAU together when we were 10, all
Yeah.
throughout. So, good dude, good dude. And we talk about those battles. I'm just glad I wasn't a big and didn't have to deal with him, putting
Yeah.
35 on us. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So you graduate from UW Eau Claire. You said you started kind of dibbling and dabbling into high school, college. Like, when did you know that you wanted to make that shift into the into the player development world and like make a career out of that?
So that actually happened. So when I was in college, I switched my major. So I had initially, like I said, I was going to be a teacher, coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of did some teaching, kind of like prerequisites and general education stuff. And then like 2 years in, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to get into college. I don't need this teaching degree. And I switched my major. But when I switched my major, I had 2 or 3 different advisors in that time. And I switched. So my major was psychology. That's what I got my degree in, because I figured, obviously the correlation between sports and psychology is major. So I thought that would be a good thing to get a solid education in. But they didn't tell me that I needed a minor. So my senior year, I applied for graduation, and I had a new advisor at that point, and he's like, hey, like you need a minor. You don't have a minor. And I was like, well, nobody told me that. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
So I had lined up like basically a trip for the whole summer, kind of going from the South all the way up to the East Coast and basically working basketball camps at every different university that I could find to try to make connections and get into college coaching. But because of the graduation stuff, I had to take summer classes. So I couldn't go do any of that. So I was like, now what am I going to do? So I reached out to Mike Lee, who was in Eau Claire at the time, who you know.
Yep.
And he was running an AAU program. So I was like, well, I could coach AAU, right? That would be something that I could do to stay in it. And he was like, I don't have any coaching spots, but I'm running this camp. If you want to come help me with this camp, you can do that. And that was like, it was like 3 days after I had connected with him.
Yep.
So I went and did that. It was an all player development camp. We were working on footwork, ball handling, finishing, all that stuff. And at that time, I had never done any of that stuff. Like it's different now, obviously, where player development is everywhere. At that time, there wasn't like player development professionals.
This is what, 09, 10?
This would have been like 08, 09.
Oh, wait, okay. Yep.
So there was maybe, I remember like, the name Gannon Baker.
Yep.
So like that was really the only dude that was like publicly out there doing that stuff. And I just thought of myself as a player. Like if I would have been doing this stuff, if people would have taught me this stuff, like Mike always used to say, I wouldn't have played at or referring to me, like I wouldn't have played at a school with a hyphen in the name if I would have, had that work, which is probably true. But so I was like, this is it. Like, so I started with him and started working guys out. And, I was still going to try to play in college. So then I moved or coach in college. I moved to Milwaukee and I helped with a couple of high school teams for a couple of years. And I was doing the player development stuff. And the player development stuff grew to the point where I had to make a decision. Like I couldn't go coach, basically take like 3-4 months off of the player development stuff. And that was probably 2012 ish. And I just doubled down on it from there. Like I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do.
Man, I love it. I love it. Yeah, and we got to shout out Mike, Mike Lee as well, because he was one of the pioneers, in this, just getting the game taught and out there, the right way, through Mike Lee basketball, and and then which ultimately turned into Thrive, and then you took real work, and roll with it. So with real work, you have the mantra of detailed, intentional, results-driven training for serious basketball players.
Yep.
So what like with you being such a sought out, player developer, like how do you sift through the clients that you accept?
It's pretty simple. I mean, when you step into the gym with a player, you can tell how serious they are about it. You can tell, are they putting time in on their own? And do they really want to improve? And, there's different markets, right? There's that top level of like elite player. There's that like second level of, really serious player. And then there's a lot of kids are just playing because they like to play basketball, but they're not, they're not super dedicated to it. They're not super committed to it. Usually they like, it's fun and they get to hang out with their boys, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
But I just learned over time, like I can do a camp with that kid who wants to be, have fun and maybe compete and be with his friends, but it's not a good fit for me to be regularly training somebody that's not committed to it, right? Because that's that's not what I want to do, and it just doesn't work well. So It usually sorts itself out. I have some kids, if I have a player that comes in that is not good, a lot of times what I'll do is give them some workouts, give them some information, and basically tell them, like, if you're actually serious about this, here's some workouts, here's stuff that you need to do on your own, and you can come back in a month or 2 weeks, and I'll know right away if you did it or not. And if you have some kids that never come back, you have some kids that come back, but they didn't really do it, and you have some kids that you can instantly tell, like, okay, this kid, it's important to them, and they've put some time into it. So, um, I don't ever say, like, you can't work out with me, but I just try to set a standard of, like, this is what this program is about, right? Like, you're here to get better. You're here to work hard, and you have to be focused and you have to be intentional. And if you're not willing to do those things, then there's not, there's other options, right? Like it's just not, that's probably not the best fit for either of us.
Got you. So you say you kind of doubled down in the training like in 2012. So how would you say your trainings have changed in the last 11-ish years?
It's 100. If you watch a workout 10 years ago and you watched a workout today, it would be night and day different. It wouldn't even be close. When we started, everything was drills, stationary ball handling, dribbling through cones. You're repping finishes, you're repping moves on air. And the thought process was like, you have to be able to do this perfectly on air, and then you could do it when somebody's guarding you. Basically, I got to the point where we'd have these players and they would come in and they would train all the time, and they're killing a workout. And I would go watch their games sometimes, or maybe we would play a little bit of one-on-one. I'm like, they don't do any of the stuff that we work on, like none of it. And that kind of transitioned into a lot of live drills. So, it's not like we just roll the ball out and let them play. So we'll try to lay down, like, we use finishing as an example. Right. If you can get to this spot, here are some options. And we'll rep that out on air, like get the footwork down, get some reps with it. All right. Now your guy pushes you out a little bit, they're on your shoulder. Here's your options. Or now you got to pivot. Here's some pivot options. So we'll rep it out a little bit, but then largely we'll put them in situations where they have to we'll give them an advantage, and they have to execute what we're telling them in a live situation. And I really started to do that heavy as soon as I branched off and started Realwork. And it's made a big difference where it carries over to games so much better. And it's not perfect, obviously, right? Because like a game is a game and a workout is a workout. But we try to replicate game situations. And I think about it a little bit different than maybe we used to think about it historically, where, everybody's big, like game shots, game spots, right? But like you sprint to the wing and shoot a three, like that's an action that might happen in the game, but it's not really game realistic because there's no decision to be made. I've told you exactly what to do. So like we try to incorporate tons of decisions. Like if you're open, then you got to shoot it. If he catches and he's trailing on the closeout, we're driving the closeout middle. If he's, tight and gambles on a steal, we're ripping opposite and going baseline. And like just building off that, right? Then you can add in a help defender on the drive. Now you got to make another decision. Do you finish or do you kick it? And that's, it's not perfect, but it's as close to, really being game like as you can get it in a workout with, 3, 4, 5, 6 players.
No, and that's so crucial too, because like back when I was still in Nicolay, we had this kid, like great, like you said, like cones, but he became almost like a robot. So
Mm-hmm.
like he'll catch on the wing, sweep, go middle rather than him just finishing with a left hand layup. He'll just you can tell like he's looking at the ground, thinking that it's like an imaginary cone right there. And then he'll like counter back when he didn't have to, or
Yeah.
so it's like putting these, especially the younger demographic, putting them in these situations where they can is more reacting. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you have this in your tool belt, but you only use it when you absolutely have to. Like if you could just
Right.
straight line drive. But if you get cut
Exactly.
off, then you can euro, then you can spin back, do something like that. So I
Exactly.
think that's huge how you're approaching it.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, and I've talked about this before, is like there's been a change in basketball and culture and life in general, right? When me and you were coming up, we didn't have phones.
Mm-mm.
So like if you wanted to watch hoops, you had to get on TNT on Tuesday or Big Monday on ESPN, and like you're
Yep,
watching a full game. And now with social media and technology, the kids, the players, they digest the game in highlights.
yep,
So they see Kyrie's highlights and then they see Luka's highlights and then they go practice that, which is cool, but there's no context of what else is actually happening in the game. And there's no they don't think about that those highlights are like 2% of what actually happened. You know what I
Fact,
mean?
for sure. Yeah,
So like we got to get them back to like I've transitioned from teaching players like skills and moves to almost like I consider myself like I'm teaching them how to play basketball,
yep,
right? Like straight line drive. If a second guy comes, pass the ball to the other guy.
yeah,
And like that
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
obvious, but like what you were saying about kids predetermining stuff, that's what happens, right? And that's when I flipped everything in my programming. So I could literally see like, we would be playing a one-on-one game. A kid gets the ball in the corner on a closeout, and he's like holding the ball, and you can tell he's like thinking like, okay, like what move should I do?
yep,
And it's like,
yep,
there's no move, shoot the
yep.
ball, like go. So yeah, like that's kind of really, we still do moves and like that type of stuff.
Mhm.
But everything else, like you said, is more like read based. So like reactionary read based, and then we try to provide them with the knowledge and the tools, to make those reads appropriately.
No, for sure, for sure. So as a player development guy, who are some people that you look up to?
I think there's a couple guys. So Phil Beckner is really good. He's Damian Lillard's guy. He was with Damian Lillard at Weber State all the way up, and then Dame put him on basically payroll to stay with him and work with him. He does some really good stuff. Um, there's a guy based out of Atlanta that's a good friend of mine named Joey Burton. He works with George Nang, Glenn Robinson, who just got signed by the Bucks. Glenn Robinson the third,
Yep.
several NBA players. He's really really good. Um, and there's a guy out of New York named Steve D'Agostino, Dags basketball. He's really good. He's really good as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think you
So I don't really follow like what you would consider like the popular
sure.
trainers. I think a lot of that stuff is more marketing than actual player development. So like a lot of those like like influencer guys. I don't know.
No,
I
I
just
hear you. I hear you. And I think it goes back to, something that I saw on your page too, where it was like the real work won't be televised.
yeah
So it's like, yeah, like if you're in the gym and you're supposed to be working this kid out or this athlete or, this adult out, like whatever, like it's hard to work out when you're constantly recording everything or like
yeah
teach or like be effective.
yeah. And honestly, like I should probably try to be better about that because
Yeah.
like that is kind of the name of the game as far as like I am running a business, and
True.
like that's how people essentially that's your marketing tool and how people are going to find you besides word of mouth. But I just it like I think like I'm like a coach at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And like you don't like Shaka doesn't take videos of practice and like send them out.
Right.
He's
Right.
locked in on coaching. And I think too sometimes like when the camera's out all the time, like in this social media age that we're in, uh it can be the context and what you're there for, the purpose that you're in the gym for, can get pushed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I've had some camera guys come and film workouts before, and like I think it was last summer, we started a workout. There was a camera guy there, and I could tell like the players were doing stuff because the camera guy was there. So like I had to bring everybody in. I'm like, hey man, like we're not trying to make a fucking highlight tape right now.
Yep.
Doing a workout, do what you're supposed to do. So I think like that camera can be because it becomes a distraction, sometimes. And
Great.
there's a place for it, but it's just something that I don't know. Like I said, I should do it more and I should be better with it, but like I just I'm not. I
I
don't
hear.
it's
I,
not my vibe.
it is. It is what it is. So anybody who comes into your gym, like the first thing you notice is the floor.
Yeah.
So let what's the story behind the Wake Forest floor?
So that floor is the Wake Forest floor, and it would have been the floor that they used when Chris Paul was there. So it's actually a pretty old floor. Um, so essentially what happens is when these programs get new floors every, however many years,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they'll sell their floor back to the flooring contractor, and then they'll resell it
Got you.
again
Got
to somebody else. So I forget what the options were. It was Wake Forest. I forget what the other floors were, but the Wake Forest one was cool, and ultimately they picked it because it has the parquet pattern on it,
you. Mm-hmm.
and apparently that has a higher resale value than than like a straight one. But you
Makes
start
sense.
to see it now more like as people are starting to get facilities and stuff. I saw one, there was like an old T-Wolves floor somewhere. I saw one. We could have got the Milwaukee one, like right after the Wake Forest one came out. So that would have been dope to have the Milwaukee one, but
Oh yeah, fact,
didn't work
fact,
out.
for sure. So your spectrum of players that you work with, obviously from youth all the way to NBA. So I want to focus on like the college space, right? So
Yep.
with like the influx of like NIL, like how have you seen that like affect, some of the higher caliber players that that you work with?
I think it's been a positive from a well, from my perspective, before a lot of the college guys that were being trained were either not paying or were paying at a discounted rate. Just they didn't have any money, like they couldn't pay for it.
Yep.
So with the NIL, it's been good for me because now they have some extra funds that they can invest in training. So from that standpoint, it's been good for
Hmm.
training. I haven't had too many instances of it being a negative thing. Like the guys that I've worked with, and obviously it's kind of a newer thing, but no problems, no issues like, oh, I don't have to work because I got this money, stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
I think it's a positive thing, and it should have been it's long overdue that
No,
those
for
guys start
sure.
to make some money off of that. But
Absolutely. And I've seen like some players that you work with like collaborate with you for like camps or whatnot. Like
yep,
so.
yep. So that's another thing that's been good. It's been good financially. It's good for me.
Mhm.
It's good for the player, but it's a good thing that we can do. Typically, we'll try to do them in the areas that they're playing. So like I've done a couple Badger players in the Madison area.
Yep.
I got Rhodey from Brookfield where we're at.
Yep.
We've done a couple, and I think it's good for young players to be around those those older college guys and to kind of see. And we don't, I really try to keep it as a uh where they're still getting something out of the camp. Like we're still doing what I would do for a normal skill development camp where we're teaching and we're doing different things. But then we start to incorporate, we'll have these kind of like sit downs where the kids can ask questions. We can kind of talk about their path to where they are now. Most kids have no idea what the work and sacrifice and commitment that it takes to get to that level. So then we try to use that time, to kind of like lay that out to kids. Like, okay, what does a normal day look like for you at Wisconsin? Oh, get up. I got to lift. Then we got study table. Then we do film. Then we got practice. Then I got class. Then I got to do cold tub. And then it's like 8 o'clock and I have a couple hours, that I can chill. Right. And most kids have no idea what that looks like. And even the process of the work, like to get to that point, most kids have no idea what that looks like.
No, for sure, for sure. And, and ever since I've known you, Luke, you've always had like some serious like sneakers, like some
Oh yeah.
dope kicks, like mainly the Kobe's. I that's when I really started peeping. I'm like, oh, he rocking the Kobe fours. Okay, all right. So let's talk about your love for sneakers and like where did that originate from?
I mean, that started, I think when I first started it, I had a cousin who was 4 years older than me, who got into basketball. And he had subscription to Slam magazine. So this would have been like
Slam
way back,
kicks,
like when it
slam
first
kicks
started.
in the back.
Yep. So, and then like looking at that, and I remember, I think I was in fifth grade, maybe sixth grade. Um, I got the Barclays. My school colors were orange and black.
Mm,
So I had like the CB4s, like the
yep.
black ones with
Yeah,
the air
absolutely.
pocket and the Air
Absolutely.
Max. And that was like my first like real sneaker.
Hmm.
And then like all these older guys that I used to hoop with, they all had like a pair of Jordans. I'm like, yeah, like I want those. Like those are dope. And like I've been obsessed with shoes since since then. Like I just haven't stopped. I really messed up though. Like I was buying and reselling Jordans like in the early 2000s before like the whole resale thing really kicked
Mm,
off. Like I would
okay.
go to Finish Line, walk in. Like when I was in high school, I walked in the Finish Line, bought two pairs of cool gray 11s, like no line, just walked in like, hey, let
Yeah.
me get an 11 and a 12.
Yeah.
Got them, walked out. I would keep one pair for myself and I would sell the other pair on eBay
Wow.
and like usually get my money back. So like I got a free pair of shoes. And I got to college, I didn't have any money to do it anymore. So like if I would have stayed on it, like I would have been ahead of the game. Like I would have been at the forefront of the sneaker trade. But I was always just into it. And like the Kobe's, as soon as they started coming out, I think the first pair I had was either the threes or fours.
Mhm.
And then from then on, like every year when they came out, I was getting them. So like I had, man, I had a bunch, but I wore them all. Like I ruined them
Right.
all.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
hooped in
You
them, I
working in
worked
them.
in
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
so to this day, like now that the Kobe's are big on the resale and stuff, like it rubs me the wrong way sometimes. Like, man, like you should be able to just buy those. You should just be, and if you're gonna buy them, you need to wear them.
Yep. Yep. No,
But
facts, facts. No, and when you say like the reselling, I'm like, I'm thinking about it too. Like, damn, I could have made some money. Like if I had my entrepreneurial mind, like now,
yep,
because East Bay was only 30 minutes away from Stevens Point.
yep, you can run over, grab a bunch of stuff out of the outlet.
and
Yeah.
and like you said, put it right on eBay, or I damn near could have just sold it on campus or something, but or brought him
Yep.
back to Milwaukee. But that it is what it is. But yeah, no, I had to ask you that because I'm like, man, Luke always got on some heat. Like it don't matter if he chilling with
Yeah.
the fam or he's in the gym. Like he gonna have on some kicks.
Well, too, like once you're an adult, I got like I had a pair of Jordan 4s. I think the military blue ones,
Yep,
like
yep.
white with the little blue on them. They're coming out this year again, I think. But I think I got them like 2007.
Mm,
So, like, I was coaching my son's team the other day, and I had those on, with the white and blue, and we're playing for Brookfield Central.
oh yeah,
And like once you're a certain age, your shoe size doesn't change.
exactly.
Also, I have a lot of shoes, but it's like 20 years worth of shoes. It's not like, I'm not just buying a pair every week, but I've amassed a little bit of it. My wife had her uncle built her this like little shoe thing, like a
Hmm.
shoe thing for our closet. And like it's slowly over the years, like it's basically
It's
all my shoes now. And now I got like she's like, you gotta do something. Like this is out of control.
I love it. I love it. Man, speaking of your wife and family, man, how has fatherhood like affected your career?
Uh it's made me it's 100% made me a better trainer. Before I had kids, um, I I think I was always good working with kids,
Hmm.
but I would be much more maybe direct or like, oh, like this kid doesn't like he doesn't care, like he doesn't got it, like. And after you have kids, you realize like how many your kids start to grow up, like how many different things are actually at play in their lives, and like it's they go on the court, maybe their attitude's not great, and maybe they had a bad day at school, maybe there's some kids like maybe they didn't eat today,
Yeah, yeah,
or like, so I think I would say I became less kind of, you have to do it this way or nothing, and kind of like got better at like basically meeting somebody where they are,
yep.
and then trying to grow from there. And it's still like it might not happen,
Hmm.
but like at least having the awareness and the empathy to understand like there's more than just basketball going on. And then really like, kids that come from harder backgrounds, or it doesn't even have to be from a harder background. Maybe your parents got divorced, or your dad just lost their job, or uh, you're getting bullied in school. Like, take like basketball. The reason I love basketball, and I did this yesterday, when I feel stressed, when I need to like clear my mind, I'll just go shoot around, like,
Yep.
and you get that time with the ball, and it's quiet, um and even in a workout that's structured or maybe competitive, like I just always felt like basketball to me was never something I had to do. Like it was always fun,
Yep.
and I always wanted to do it. I wanted to go to practice. I love practice. I wanted to play like every game. And then like kind of preaching that to kids, like, hey, this is supposed to be fun. Like we can work hard, we can get better, but we can also be serious, but we can have fun at the same time. And this should be an outlet for you. Like if you had a bad day at school or you got this stuff going on, this hour right here, none of that has to exist. You
Yep.
can just focus on the ball and whatever, and get away from whatever, issues or stuff you're going through, and use that time as this is a safe haven. Like, get away from everything else and enjoy your time on the floor.
Man, you hit it right on the head. And I was speaking with Coach Guys the other week, and we were having a similar conversation, and he was like, I wanted to make those 2 hours of practice like the best 2 hours of y'all day. He's like, because I know you guys are dealing with whatever at home, you guys dealing with whatever, if if you got a girlfriend, in high school or whatever,
Mhm.
if if you got to work, school, like all this. So he was like, yeah, it was going to be competitive. I was going to get at you guys, but like I wanted it to be, the best time and make it fun and direct and engaging and learning, whatnot. So it's dope to hear you say that because, with me, I got two kids too now, and it's like I don't like my son, he's 9. I don't want to coach him. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to because it's certain things that like I see that father son dynamic. You know what I mean? It could be a little tricky. Like I'm not knocking, anybody who does, but it's something that where it's like it's a thin line, right? Because it's
It's
like
hard,
you
man.
don't want to be too hard on them, but then in the back of your mind, you're still like, okay, I got these other 9 parents looking at me like asking me why my or thinking why my son might be playing more. So it's tricky, man. It's tricky.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this. Like, so I coached my son's team. He did not play any basketball. Like, I was very much hands off.
Hmm.
Like, if because I've seen enough kids that like I know like your parents are making you
Yeah,
do this. Like, you
for
don't
sure,
even really want to do this.
for sure.
So, like, I was very hands off. Like, looking back on it, I kind of wish I would have like got him introduced to it a little bit more, and kind of just like had him doing some stuff. But coaching his team and not his team, coaching your son is easily the hardest thing that I've ever done
Really.
because, like you said, like your whether you know it or not, you're going to be harder on your own kid than any other kid in that gym at that time.
Mm,
And I think a lot of it comes back to like it's not just basketball, it's like listening, like a standard of behavior that you kind of want just out of your home for your kids, and like a certain way to act, a certain way to conduct yourself. And it's really hard. It's really hard. um but I think, like what you were saying, I saw this video the other day. It was Steve Kerr talking with Bob Myers, and they were talking about leadership and different things. And Kerr was talking about going to visit with Pete Carroll with the Seattle Seahawks.
mhm.
And he was there for a few days. He was, in the meetings, watching practice, and he got some time to meet with Pete Carroll. And he asked him, "How are you going to coach your team this year?" And Kerr said, "Oh, we're going to do this on offense." And Pete Carroll's like, "No, no, 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 no. How are you going to coach your team? What is the vibe? Like when those players step into practice, what is the vibe that they're going to feel? How are you going to treat them? Like, are you going to celebrate when somebody has a child, when somebody gets married?" And like Kerr fell back on just, I think it was joy, competitiveness, and there was one more that I don't remember.
Mhm.
But I think that's a good reminder, because what happens is you get caught up in like in the game itself, I think, right? Or like even just practice. Like, we got to get this done and we got to do this and you got to do that better. And like really all that matters is like, did those kids, obviously they have to get better, but ultimately did they enjoy the time, and do they want to come back? So like I think when we got done with our season last year, the best compliment maybe I've ever been given is I have 4 or 5 parents. Our season ended on a Sunday, and I think we were practicing on Mondays and Wednesdays. So our season ended on a Sunday, and we had a get together to hand in uniforms and stuff on the following Monday. And I had 3 or 4 parents come up to me and say how disappointed that their son was that they didn't get to go to practice today.
Oh wow.
And I was like, that then we did a great job.
Yep.
Like, all those kids came back. Not one of those kids said, "No, I don't want to play basketball anymore." Um, so like I think especially at the youth level, you got to keep perspective. It's
Oh,
easy
for
to
sure.
get caught up in winning and losing and, those little things. But in general, maybe one kid, maybe two kids on that team might play college basketball. Probably none of them are going to be professionals. So, keeping that perspective at all times in the back of your head, I think is a major, major thing.
Man, that's deep. You hit it around like right on the head, bro. Like huge, huge, huge. All right, so Luke, we
Well,
got no. Go ahead, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, like, if you and then like flip it, right? Like, if your son was on my team, like ultimately, what do you want for your son? Like, you probably want him to play a lot and
Yep.
like, whatever that situation is, it is. But ultimately, if like your son comes out of it and he was like, like he comes out of practice, he's happy, he finishes the season like, so we don't have practice. Oh man, I'm bummed. Like, that's what you want, right? Like that's
Absolutely. Job well done.
yep.
Job well done. And so Luke, we got 5 rapid fire questions. All right, and then we're gonna get up out of here. All right. So first one, phone call or FaceTime.
I'm probably going phone call.
All right. Childhood nickname.
Oh man. Dog. I mean, really, like, I didn't really have a nickname. Luke is my nickname, really.
Got
Uh,
you.
man, when I was little, there used to be this cartoon. It was called Super Chicken.
I
It
don't think
was
I ever
like,
heard that one.
it was with like man, it was like three little cartoons that made up like a half hour. It was like George of the Jungle, Super Chicken, and somebody else. And like Super Chicken had this like little call thing that he would do.
Uh-huh.
And I used to be able to do that shit like exactly like Super Chicken. So like I had some boys that used to they call me Super Chicken for a while.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Favorite holiday.
Ooh, I'm gonna give you two,
Okay.
and they're probably not what you think. So I'm gonna go 4th of July
Okay.
and Thanksgiving.
Solid.
The reason I picked those two is because there's no presents involved, and you are with your family and friends, and there's a
Yeah,
bunch of food, and it's just a good time with everybody together. There's none of that extra stuff on it.
that's true. Man, that's deep. I was gonna say Thanksgiving. I would say Thanksgiving, but then once you put in the 4th of July, I think that the weather might tip me over. Now that I'm thinking about it, the
You
weather
probably
might
got
get
a lake, maybe, and you got
yeah.
a pool. Like,
Yep. Yep. All right. Yeah. No, that's solid. And then we know about the presents, and I know you got a couple more kids than I do, but get a little pricey. But
yeah,
all right. So morning person or night owl?
night owl.
Got you.
I have a
Same.
hard time. I have a hard time going to sleep. So like a lot of times, my wife will go to bed at like 10, maybe 11, and I'll be up till 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I like just my brain doesn't slow down. Like I just a lot of times I'll watch film, I'll watch a game. It's one of the only times where it's quiet in my house. My kids get up early, so my kids are up at 6:30.
Yep.
So that's kind of really like my time to where it's quiet. I can get work done. I can focus on stuff. So I say night out.
Got you. All right. Last one. So you're headed to a gym for a 5-on-5 run.
Ooh,
So you plus 4 other skill trainers slash player development people. Who are you bringing with you?
skill trainers, player development people.
Like it could be worldwide.
How about what if can I pick 5 guys that I've trained?
Oh, no, I like it. Let's do it. I love it. That's even better.
All right.
So you
So
you you coach you're gonna be the coach.
yeah, I'm gonna coach because
Yeah.
my cardio is not in a position where I'll be playing 5-on-5. So I'm
All
gonna
right. I
coach.
like it. I like it. Yep. 5 guys you train. That's dope.
I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna go. Carrington Love is running the show for me.
See love. Shout out. See love.
That's my guy. And I'm gonna pick these like I'm gonna pick some guys that I've known for a really, really, really long time. So I got C Love. I'm taking the chance at the 2.
Mm. Sniper.
Yep, we got shooter. I'm taking Ethan Happ at the 5.
Uh,
We got him in there. I'm taking Rhodey with me. He can play 2, 3, 4. So what do I got? I need one more.
yep. Got 4.
And then my 5th. This is tough. I'm gonna take I'm taking H. I'm taking H with me, and I'm got a 6-man. I'm taking Dwayne with me.
Nice. Nice. I love it. I love it. Hey, y'all, man, that'd be a fake fake open gym. Like, wouldn't it be fun? You have to play against
I
some
used to tell
NBA
those guys
guys.
like for the pro am, like, all right, let's just run together and I'll coach the team, but we are gonna play real basketball.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. Oh man, that's serious. Okay, so you said C Love, Rhodey, Ethan Happ, LaChance, H, and then Dwayne.
Yep, that's my
Ooh,
6.
ooh. Man, no, that's some good stuff right there.
And I feel bad. I'm thinking of more people. You put me on the spot. I'm
No,
thinking of
it's
more.
all good. It's all good. Hey,
I
hey,
left some people out, but
it's all good. It's all good. Well, Luke, man, I appreciate you, taking some time out your day, man, pulling up to Leaf with the Legends podcast. Man, we got Luke Meier, founder, lead player development coach at Realwork Basketball. Man, appreciate you, dog.
I appreciate you having me, Leaf. Appreciate you. Keep doing the great work.
Man, thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and be legendary or be lost.